Hey everyone, welcome to Top 10 Nerd, the channel where we talk about everything nerdy, especially comic books. While a lot of our fans on this channel are seasoned comic connoisseurs, we wanted to put together a list for those newer to the industry, or those who want some new suggestions about what comics they should definitely read, if they haven't already. While there's plenty of fantastic comics we could suggest, the ones on this list we felt were some of the strongest introductions into the universes of some of the most beloved and iconic superheroes, all while still telling sensational stories. So with that in mind, let's jump into our top 10 superhero comics for new readers. And at number 10 is the New 52 Justice League. Back in 2011, DC reset its continuity, completely wiping away all previous storylines minus a select few, and began writing the stories of its iconic heroes with a clean slate. While some saw this as an attempt to revise timelines that had gotten real messy over the last few decades, others saw this as a great entry point for new readers. And Geoff Johns and Jim Lee's Justice League served as a great introduction to many of the company's staple heroes: The Flash, Cyborg, Green Lantern, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman. Up next, number 9 is Spider-Man Brand New Day. Speaking of clean slates, Spider-Man issue 546 Brand New Day is exactly that. It's a great way for readers who are interested in the relatable hero to jump into his story, without having to worry about what was previously considered canon in his continuity. A lot of things have been reset. No one remembers that Spider-Man's identity is Peter Parker, and characters who had been killed or drastically altered during the previous run had returned. Speaking of Spidey heroes, and at number 8 is Spider-Gwen. Spider-Gwen, an offshoot of the Spider-Verse story arc that occurred back in 2015, gives us an alternate Earth in which Gwen Stacy is bitten by a radioactive spider as opposed to Peter Parker. Starting from her origin as the hero, it's not necessary for readers to be overly familiar with what's canon in the Spider-Man of Earth 616, Marvel's main Earth timeline, even though it does feature many notable Marvel characters. Moving on to some more female heroines at number 7 with Rat Queens. For those with an affinity for D&D, Rat Queens takes place in a fantasy world that is chock full of humor. The story follows a rowdy party of 4 adventurers, a diverse cast of women that some have described as Lord of the Rings meets Bridesmaids. There's a rockabilly elven mage, a hipster dwarven warrior, an atheist human cleric, a hippie halfling thief, and a transgender orc warrior. The series has 17 issues in total, with a soft reboot that contained 5 issues. Up next at number 6 is Scott Pilgrim. Scott Pilgrim is a hero in his own right, a series of graphic novels that has been noted by critics to be a bit of a love letter to Toronto, R.I.P. Honest Eds. Scott Pilgrim follows the story of a young man who's a bit of a slacker and kinda shitty, despite being incredibly charismatic. He falls for a girl named Ramona and has to fight off her 7 evil exes before he can truly be with her. With hilarious writing and fun, detailed, eccentric art, Scott Pilgrim is more than just an entertaining read, and its film adaptation by Edgar Wright is so very worth the watch after you finish reading. Up next, number 5 is the New 52 Wonder Woman. Helmed by Brian Azzarello, this take on Wonder Woman is critically acclaimed, and features some stunning art to boot. For those of you interested in jumping on the Wonder Woman bandwagon since her recent cinematic popularity, the New 52 Wonder Woman delves into her past right off the bat, reacquainting or introducing readers to the world in which she's from. It not only presents her as a fierce character with strong women surrounding her, but introduces us to the Greek gods who manipulate that world. In at number 4 is Thor: God of Thunder by Jason Aaron. A series that started in 2012 under the Marvel Now branding, which served as a relaunch for many Marvel titles, Thor: God of Thunder follows 3 different timelines during Thor's life: the past, the present, and the future, all of which are told concurrently as he unravels the mystery of the God Butcher. And it provides enthralling character development. Hailed for its stunning artwork, it also leads into the storyline of female Thor, Jane Foster, after its 25th issue. In our number 3 spot is Saga. Saga isn't your traditional superhero comic. It's much more of a sci-fi, featuring characters capable of extraordinary feats, but also unusual characters who live in a very extraordinary universe. Described as Star Wars meets Game of Thrones meets Romeo and Juliet, the story opens with Elena and Marco, a wife and husband who have just had a child, despite their extraterrestrial races being long at war. They're fleeing the authorities of both while trying to keep their daughter Hazel safe, who narrates the series as an adult. If you enjoy a story that explores themes like the portrayal of ethnicity, sexuality, war, and gender roles, all wrapped into a compelling story set in space, this comic with a ton of mature subject matter is definitely for you. In at number 2 is The Dark Knight Returns. Perhaps I'm a tad biased here, but it's undeniable that Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns is one of the best series in comic book history. It largely rejuvenated Batman as a darker character, ushering him into a new wave of popularity in the late 80s that ditched his campier Silver Age roots entirely. And hey, it's the comic that personally got me into comic books, so there's that, among many other readers too. It's more than just a Batman story. Miller plays with the psychology of an aging Batman, from his own mortality, his ethics, his relationship with past Robins, his masculinity, and his views on the increasingly overwhelming nature of technology, subverting many notions we had about Batman and the superhero genre as a whole. And it features some fan favorite characters that are recognizable even if you're new to the canon. And finally, in at number 1 is Watchmen. Created by Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons, Watchmen is one of the most iconic pieces in comic book history, if not literature, not only for how it deconstructs the role of the classic superhero archetype, but for integrating social and political conflicts into the mix, making it feel a little bit more like real life. Watchmen follows an alternate history where superheroes emerged in the 1940s, with their presence changing many important historical events like Vietnam. Taking place in 1985, the US is on the brink of nuclear war with Russia, with the death of one of the heroes spiraling into a series of events that pull the now outlawed vigilantes out of retirement. Aside from being iconic, the story is the first introduction of these characters, and is pretty contained despite DC's efforts to now integrate it into the mainstream DC multiverse. And if that isn't enough to convince you, people have actually written theories and philosophies based on the text, ranging from the omnipotent Dr. Manhattan stance as an Ubermensch and the ethical repercussions of his power, to the way masculinity and women are portrayed via the Night Owl and Silk Spectre characters, both generations of each. And it features some of the best artwork in the medium, with each page consisting of a symmetrical 9 panels. Alright, there we have it, friends. Let us know if you've ever read these comics. I'm sure a lot of you seasoned fans have, so in that case, let us know which ones are your favorites. And if you'd like a part 2 of this list, give us a shout about that as well. If you dug this video, show us some love by hitting those like and subscribe buttons, and head on over to our channel to check out our most recent upload playlist for more nerdy vids. In the meantime, thanks for watching. I'm Kelly Pally and this is Top 10 Nerd. I'll catch you all in the next one.